Imagine waking up in a country where entire cities have been destroyed. Factories are silent. Food is scarce. Millions of people are uncertain about their future. Now imagine that same country becoming one of the richest and most technologically advanced nations in the world just a few decades later. This isn't a movie. This is the story of Japan. In 1945, World War II came to an end. For Japan, the war left behind enormous challenges. The economy was struggling, infrastructure had been heavily damaged, and many families were simply trying to survive day by day. At that moment, few people could have predicted what would happen next. Yet, within a generation, Japan would experience one of the most extraordinary economic recoveries in modern history. So how did Japan do it? The answer begins with a difficult realization. Japan could not rebuild the future by focusing on the past. The country needed a new direction. In the years after the war, major reforms reshaped Japanese society. New institutions were created, economic policies changed, and efforts were made to build a more stable foundation for growth. But laws and policies alone could not transform a nation. The real driving force was the Japanese people. Across the country, workers, engineers, teachers, business leaders, and families shared a common goal: rebuilding their nation. People worked long hours. Businesses focused on improving efficiency. Schools emphasized education and technical skills. There was a widespread belief that hard work and continuous improvement could create a better future, and that belief became one of Japan's greatest strengths. But rebuilding a country requires more than determination. It requires an economic strategy. Instead of trying to compete with larger nations in every field, Japan focused on industries where it could excel. Manufacturing became a national priority. Factories adopted advanced production methods. Companies constantly searched for ways to reduce waste, improve quality, and increase efficiency. A simple philosophy became deeply rooted in Japanese industry: never stop improving. Even small improvements made every day could eventually create extraordinary results. This approach helped Japanese companies produce products that were reliable, affordable, and trusted by customers around the world. During the 1950s and 1960s, Japanese businesses began exporting more goods internationally. At first, many foreign consumers underestimated Japanese products. Some people even associated them with low quality. But Japanese companies were determined to change that perception. Year after year, they improved their products. Televisions became better. Cameras became more reliable. Electronics became more advanced. Automobiles became more efficient. Eventually, something remarkable happened. The phrase "made in Japan" transformed from a sign of low-cost manufacturing into a symbol of quality and innovation. Japanese brands earned global respect. Cars built in Japan were sold across continents. Electronics from Japan entered millions of homes. The country's economy expanded rapidly. Cities grew. Living standards improved. New opportunities emerged for millions of people. By the 1960s, Japan's economic growth was attracting attention worldwide. By the 1970s, it had become one of the world's leading industrial powers. And by the 1980s, Japan possessed one of the largest economies on Earth. What made this achievement even more remarkable was Japan's lack of natural resources. Unlike some countries, Japan does not possess vast reserves of oil, gas, or other valuable resources. Instead, its greatest resource was its people. Knowledge, education, discipline, innovation. These became the engines of growth. Japanese engineers developed new technologies. Researchers pushed industries forward. Businesses invested in long-term success rather than short-term gains. The country continuously adapted to changing global markets. Of course, Japan's journey was not perfect. Economic challenges eventually emerged, including periods of slower growth. But the story of Japan's recovery remains one of the most powerful examples of national transformation in modern history. A country that faced enormous destruction found a way to rebuild. A nation that many believed was finished became an economic powerhouse. And its success offers an important lesson. Natural resources matter. Geography matters. But education, innovation, determination, and long-term planning can sometimes matter even more. Japan's recovery was not the result of a single event or a single leader. It was the result of millions of people working toward a shared goal over many years. And that is why the rise of Japan remains one of the most remarkable stories the world has ever seen. If you enjoyed this story, follow for more videos explaining the history, economics, and rise of nations around the world.